My wife's kids are off tomorrow. So tomorrow's a teacher work day. They're off Friday for like a mental health day. Then they're off Monday. So I'm like, "Dang, your kids
Oh,
got like a
mental
spring
health
break."
day.
I'm saying
Mental health day. I need
I don't
lots
get.
of those.
I work 7 days a week. I work on Christmas. I mean, and Pam's like, you pick that. I'm like, I know.
Yep.
Our kids go to Florida a lot, so whatever. Like, shut up. You picked it. I get it. Anyway, hey everybody, happy Wednesday night. I always forget, is it Monday? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday where we pretend it's a Monday. So we're going to sit here and have a trip report as we do and be talking with Stephanie. Stephanie, you are where in the world?
Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho. So is everything there blue, like the turf on the football field, or just the
No,
blue turf?
just the turf and the sky if we're lucky. If it's a
Yes.
cloudy day, then not. But no,
I
just the
love that.
turf.
I love that. I watch any game that's on TV from Boise, like, I'll
Yeah,
I'll watch because of the turf. Like, it
I
used to
know
be
it's
a
fun.
novelty, right? Like, years and years ago, because you'd be like, anybody would walk in and would see the game on, they'd be like, "The TV's
Right.
messed up."
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And they're a good team. They're a good school
Yeah,
too.
they are pretty good. They've held their own for quite a while now.
Yep. Yeah, the closest I've ever been out that way, I've been to Yellowstone, and we stayed in, West Yellowstone, and that
Yeah.
was in is that in Montana? I think it was.
Um,
West
is it west?
Yellowstone.
I'm really bad that I don't know that. Well, it
I don't know.
touches like 4 or
It was up
5
in the
states.
yeah, it was
Montana's yeah, if it's the
I think it
northern
was.
end, then
'Cause we
Montana, yeah,
drove.
because
It
it
was
touches Idaho, Montana, others as
yeah.
well.
I just remember
Really
it's
bad I
so
don't know that.
beautiful out there. Oh
Oh,
my
it's
gosh, it
beautiful.
was
It is.
gorgeous. I just wanna get back out that way. Such a long drive. It was Yellowstone, though, for somebody that's from St. Louis, like, the park, I didn't have any idea how big like, it's as big it's almost like
Massive.
driving through Missouri, like, the
Yeah,
state, like, in this
right.
park. But, man, it was great. Yeah, and I just remember we stayed in West Yellowstone. I'm pretty sure it was Montana,
Yeah, it
and,
probably is.
our hotel had a hot tub. And so we were sitting this was like in I wanna say it was like in June too, and we were sitting in the hot tub 'cause we were out of school and I was anyway, and it was snowing, like
Mhm.
in June, and so the snow
Yeah,
came down, we're sitting in a hot tub, I'm like, "This is like the greatest thing
crazy.
ever." It was so weird. It was great. Yeah, so I gotta get out that way again sometime.
Uh,
Anyway, I get the notes up here, and we're at
oops.
22:41 for
Can you
Monday.
still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I touched something that made a funny noise, so okay.
Alright, we're good. Giving signals here.
There you go.
Bunt, hit and run, squeeze.
Ugh,
Okay. Here we go. So we're talking about November. We're talking about the Poly and the Animal Kingdom Lodge and some good food. I'm glad I already ate for once. All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 2241 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you and happy President's Day here in the United States of America. This is a salute to all presidents, but mostly Washington and Lincoln, because I think that's what this is all about. But all presidents, we could just say the Hall of Presidents, whatever you want, whatever you want to do. Let's just enjoy that we get to reflect on the executive branch in our government and whatever you want to do today. Hopefully, you have the day off. I don't. School teachers do. A lot of other folks do. Well earned. So enjoy it. But today, we're going to have a fun trip report. That's what we do here on Mondays. So joining me today up from Big Sky Country, I love it, out in Boise, Idaho, we have listener Stephanie. Stephanie, happy Monday and happy President's Day. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mike.
Glad to have you. So how are things out in that beautiful part of the world?
A little cold, somewhere in the 40s most days lately, but other than that, good.
So I'm curious, do you guys have like wildlife ever? I know this sounds so stupid, right? Because I'm from Missouri and I don't have a lot of perspective around your part of the country. I was out of Yellowstone one time, just on a road trip. But I mean, do you ever see like wild, like buffalo, moose, anything like that in your area?
We don't know, and it's funny you say that because I've been to Missouri, but I was 8, so I don't remember that much, and it was out in farm country, but, there's a lot of farms around, so we'll see the sheeps and the cows and things like that, but we've also had a large influx of people moving here over the last couple of years, and so it's a lot of those farms have been taken over by homes, so Occasionally you'll hear about something being sighted and coming down from the hills, but not on a regular basis.
Sounds like where I live. It totally
Yeah.
does. I mean, we're in a booming part of, we're just west of St. Louis, the booming part of St. Louis, is a metropolitan area, and just subdivisions going up left and right. And, all this area used to be right along the Missouri River, deer and, all kinds of wildlife, and they're forced out. So, you got to watch where you're driving all the time because the deer will pop out on you on these roads that we're going down, and it's crazy. But yeah, you're right. It used to be farmland. Now it's subdivisions
Right.
everywhere.
Yep.
Okay, so let's hop into your Disney history. I like to hear about this before we get into the trip and talk about you had a split stay. It's going to be a lot of fun. But how does this all start for you? How do you find yourself listening to Disney podcasts and being such a passionate Disney fan? Where does the story start?
My husband and I both grew up in Southern California, about an hour northwest of Disneyland. And so we went both of us probably went like once every year, once every other year as kids. And so we positively loved it. I watched all the Disney movies as a kid and just fell in love with everything that was Disney. And then when we got married, we took our honeymoon, we went to Disney World. And so back in 96, it was a lot quieter then.
Yeah.
One of our favorite memories is walking the World Showcase and having cast members take our picture, and there's like nobody else in the picture. It's just empty. Um, but when we were there, we just fell in love with World and said, when we have kids, we need to bring them back here. And we have one daughter and took her back when she was 5 and kept going to World every couple of years. And then loved it so much and figured the mouse got all our money anyway that we bought into DVC. And so, yeah, and it's just really become a part of our family.
Super interesting story. There's so many ways we can go with this. Let me ask you a
Yeah,
couple things before we jump into the trip, because you guys are obviously more towards the west side of the country than the
right.
East Coast, and you're big World fans. But
Yeah.
you have that history of growing up in Southern California near Disneyland. What do you recall that was? Because again, I'm somebody who I'm dead in the center of the country, but never went to Disneyland until this past July, and I just absolutely 100% fell in love with Disneyland. Like I was just like, what have I been missing for all this time? I felt the history, I just felt the nostalgia. I
Yeah.
loved how small it was, which I thought was gonna be a negative, and it was a huge positive for me.
Yeah.
The weather was great. It's just I loved everything about it. So, growing up at Disneyland, what do you recall as far as, like, a special memory of Disneyland? And then we'll hop into the Walt Disney World aspect, but I'm hoping to get back to Disneyland here really soon.
Yeah.
I'm working on a special project, but I just like hearing about it.
Well, it's funny because some of the things that I remember about it growing up, like, you know, when I went as a kid, California Adventure wasn't there. So there was, you parked where California Adventure is now. So things like that that have changed are really cool to think back on. And one of the ways that I went when I was a kid was they used to have these nights where they would close at like, probably close at like 6 or 7 o'clock, and they would open it up into the evening for select groups of people. So I remember going with like my church youth group, and we would go, and like all of us kids would basically be set free in Disneyland. So like middle school, high school, we were able to just wander around with our friends and have a fun night for a couple of hours. And back then the parents were just kind of like, okay, well, check in with us every so often, and there's no cell phones or anything. So it was just a lot of fun to be there with my friends growing up and have that experience. So those are probably my best memories.
I couldn't imagine getting to do something like that with, like, your youth group or your high school
Right.
buds, because Disneyland, it reminds me of stuff we did at Six Flags here in St.
Yeah.
Louis, right? But it's such a local, just basic amusement park, but I
Right.
mean, Disneyland, like, you get to do that with your friends and your buds. Oh my gosh, that'd be such a great experience. Now, so you guys fell in love with Walt Disney World, I guess because of the scope of it was kind of different. You have
Yeah.
the 4 parks, you have the resort aspect of it. I mean, it's more of, and we're going to talk about being inside and outside of the bubble here shortly during your trip. But is it like the infrastructure? Is it the whole, once you get there, you're immersed? Is that what sold you on Disney World and got you going back and buying into DVC and making it a place you just love to come back to?
I think so. It was, being able to be there and be within the bubble, and we get there and we can just immerse ourselves in everything that is Disney. And not that we don't love land. And now if we go back to visit, we would stay with family, or maybe, we would stay at a hotel near Disney or stay at one of the Disneyland hotels. But it was Disneyland was a day trip as a kid. It wasn't a vacation. And so World was a vacation. It's a getaway. And so we can go and we can, you know, go to all the I will say Land has some good restaurants, but World has really good restaurants. The
True.
and it's the scope of it too, it's you've got all those resorts to choose from, and there's, 4 parks versus 2, and there's the amount of restaurants to choose from is just fabulous. So we just love going and being in the bubble, and like you said, we'll talk in a minute about being outside the bubble too, but I think that was a big part of it, is that we could go and just have a family getaway and just the 3 of us and have a really nice vacation. So really, really fun to be at World. We still love Land. It holds a special place in our heart. But if we had our preference for vacation, we're going World.
I love that. I think it's where you are too in your just kind of timeline of your Disney fandom,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've been to World
Right.
so many times. It was such a novelty to be at
Hmm.
Disneyland Hotel. I was like, oh my gosh, we're at the Disneyland Hotel. So, and I hope our listeners, like this first, 5-10 minutes of these trip report shows, because really what it is, it's getting to know the members of our community, of our listenership. And I love this because everybody's got their own story and it's unique.
Yeah.
And it just makes me happy because you grew up near, in Southern California near Disneyland and have a perspective I could never have, and it is so cool to hear. I mean, I could pick your brain for 2 hours, but we won't do that. I love this stuff. Okay, so let's talk about this trip you took in November. It's a split stay, but what were the circumstances around this trip? Because you had a few circumstances why you were going this time,
Yeah.
and then we'll get into the details of all the fun, all the good meals and the resort and all that good stuff. But how'd this all come together?
So, any excuse for a Disney World trip is a good one, but
You got that?
um, but not quite 2 years ago, our daughter went into the Disney College program, and she has decided to stay and is now a full-time cast member. So trips down there now are part vacation, but really we're going to see our kid. So we knew we weren't going to be able to go at Christmas this year. So we took advantage of being able to go at Thanksgiving time, and that was the main focus of the trip, was being able to see her, and the fact that we could play at Disney World with her and without her when she had to go to work was kind of an added bonus. So that was the main reason for going, was to see our girl.
So that's not a bad gig. Like
Yeah.
two birds with one stone. Yeah, and we're gonna see our kid, but if you got to work, we can go and eat good restaurants. We can
Yep.
do some cool attractions. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Okay, so you guys go down. You're there November 16th to the 24th, just so our listeners kind of have a time frame of where we're
Hmm.
talking. Right there before Thanksgiving. You guys are DVC members, correct? So
Hmm.
this was both. This is something you booked through DVC points, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it
Okay.
was.
So, so you stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge at the Jumbo House in a one-bedroom standard for the first 5 nights, and you went to the Polynesian for a deluxe studio for 3 nights after that. So before we even hop into the resort stay, how's the travel? Because you guys do this so often, coming all the way across the country. Any tips? Because that's not insignificant, I would think.
Yeah, the bummer from traveling where we are is that there's very few places where we can go direct. We're going to have to get a connection somewhere. So we try to look at the time of year that we're traveling, and if we're going in the winter, we'll try to look at where the connections are. They're often, through like Dallas or
Mhm.
Houston or Minneapolis. Those are going to be our main hubs that we're going through, depending on who we fly. And so we'll kind of take a guess as to what the weather might do, because we don't want to get stuck there. Also, make sure we have a decent layover. A little, we usually shoot for at least an hour. If we've got a little bit more than that, that's good. Um, don't want to do something with 2 layovers if we can help it, just because I mean, it, I get so worried with
Yeah,
flights
no
and get
kidding.
canceled or
Last Christmas.
delays.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right?
I don't even bring that
So
up. Yeah, that was a
I
nightmare.
know, it was a nightmare. Um, so we try to look for something that's got, at least an hour layover, and yeah, pack snacks and all that good stuff. Sometimes we scope out the airports ahead of time to see what kind of food is available there. So maybe we
Mhm.
can grab a snack in between. But usually I'm bringing some snacks too.
I would connect through Dallas just because they have a Whataburger. We connected through there on the way home from, Disneyland. I'd never had
Yeah.
Whataburger before. That thing was awesome.
Uh,
I would now connect through that airport. Just saying, not yes, I would. But no, you mentioned though connections in the wintertime. One thing I've always heard, and again, I don't connect because we have direct flights to
Right.
Florida like 8 times a day from our airport. We're very, very lucky on that with Southwest. But um one thing I would think about is if you're connecting, connect through a southern airport if you can. Like, don't when you said Minneapolis in in November,
Yeah.
that makes me super nervous, or Chicago or something like
Right.
that. Go south because you got less chance of winter weather, for that connection to get screwed up by a big blizzard or something. I mean, could have Dallas gets ice storms. I mean,
Oh yeah.
don't hold me to that. I'm just saying, try to go south if you can. It's just something to think about. But okay, so let's talk about your stay. So Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jumbo House, around Christmas time, because Thanksgiving's Christmas time at Walt Disney World. August is Halloween, so right right now it's probably Easter. I don't know. I mean, we're already past Valentine's Day.
Right.
So, what'd you think of the accommodations there? How'd that work out?
Oh, it was fabulous. We we try to usually we end up staying in the deluxe studio, which with DVC, that's basically you get a queen size bed, a pull-out sofa, or the Murphy bed, and like a kitchenette. But with the one bedroom, you get a bedroom that has a king size bed, and then there's a separate living room area, which also has a pull out bed, and you get a full kitchen. So, oh, and washer dryer. So if that's the ticket.
No kidding. Like, we used to never do we don't do it as much, but we used to drive. We started doing our laundry on our trips, and it was you think, "Oh, you're not gonna do your laundry on trips," but when you can just throw in a load of laundry, it makes it so much easier when you get home and you don't have to pack as much. It's
We
great.
we definitely do. We try to do laundry, which I know for some people they're like, "Oh, we're not going to do laundry on vacation," but that means we can pack a little less.
Right.
And, it's like you said, it's less to do when you get where you're going too. So, so the one bedroom was great. It was with a standard view, and actually was a view of the pool, which was really nice. It was, it wasn't the animals, but it was a view of the pool, which was really nice. Um, Kadani Village is like the DVC location, but they've converted some of the rooms in Jumbo House to be DVC. We prefer Jumbo House because we love the feel of that lobby, and it's just I feel more immersive in the experience of being at Animal Kingdom Lodge than Kadani. We did stay Kadani once now. Granted, the time that we were there, it poured rain, so probably should give it a try another time. But from what we've done previously, we really love Jumbo House. It's just you walk in and it's just this grand foyer, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, to me, they both have their advantages and disadvantages. To me, Kidani's kind of like a Animal Kingdom Lodge light, and it's very
Yeah.
quiet. It's very quaint and quiet and very peaceful. Jumbo House is where the energy is. It's the
Hmm.
heart, obviously, of Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's got the restaurants, it's got Victoria Falls, it's got like you said, just the lobby that when you walk in, you're like, whoa, it's like Wilderness Lodge. You
Yeah,
walk in, it's like blows
exactly.
you away immediately. You're just like, wow.
Yes.
So that's to me, I'm the same way. If I had to pick, I'd pick Jumbo every time just because it feels like I'm in the heart. Because that's why I'm there. I want to be in the hub.
Right.
That's why I like Pop Century. I like the energy, the contemporary. I want to be where the monorail is going through. I want to feel it, when I'm there.
Hmm.
I'm not a retirement home person yet. This is peaceful and it would be great, but I'm not there yet. Like eventually,
Yes.
I eat it like we talked. I eat at 4:30, so I'm close. I'll be at Sanaa soon, but or Sanaa. I mean, Kadani soon. I'm thinking Sanaa because that's where Sanaa is. So okay, so let's before we get to the back into the trip, let's talk about at the beginning of your trip, you guys you went outside the bubble there for your
Mhm.
first meal because you guys did some we're gonna talk about some of these meals, but you went to Lizzie's Backyard Barbecue off property, which I've never heard of this place, but I'm intrigued because I'm from Missouri and it's a barbecue joint. So
Right.
tell us about that.
We
How'd you find
we
it?
had never been there either. We got to Animal Kingdom Lodge our first night. It was actually kind of like mid-afternoon, and our daughter got off work about an hour later and came over and joined us. And because she's a cast member there, she has a car, and she said, "Can I take you guys somewhere outside the bubble?" And we're like, "Sure. Where do you want to go?" And she had just recently been to this Lizzie's Backyard Barbecue, like a few weeks prior, and she said it was really good. And it's over at it's like Margaritaville has restaurants and shops,
Mhm.
and I hadn't been there before. Um, but she took us over there, and it's small, maybe a dozen, 15 tables in there, and very low key. And it's one of those, like, I don't know if you guys we have like a Dickie's barbecue. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Heard of them. We don't have any in
Okay.
St. Louis.
It's kind
We
of
have them in
similar,
Columbia. Yeah. Yeah.
except we did order at the table, but it's like they sat us down and they gave us the menu and we ordered our food and they bring it out, but it's like on this tray and all of your things you've ordered there. I mean, it's almost like you would get it like up at the counter, but they're actually bringing it to you at the table.
Yeah.
It wasn't super fancy, but it was barbecue and we'll eat barbecue any day of the week. So it was good food and it was kind of fun to be outside the bubble. She tries to get us to go outside the bubble at least a couple times every time we're there. So
Eh, and I'm going down on Thursday for Princess, and Scott will have a car.
you
And
gonna
so
get your
I
public
imagine
stuff?
that's exactly right. We're gonna wander off. That's why we're gonna be off property because we're getting our pub sub, baby. Yeah, we'll talk about that
That's
tonight at
funny.
dinner. Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's but yeah, when I see places like this, so I get intrigued. The more it's okay because I used to be like, a purist. This was
right.
the Disney Magical Express though thing, right? Because they lock
Yes,
you in. I would
they
get off
did.
the plane, they had my bags, I got on the bus, and I never ever considered leaving property. But now Publix can get me. I'm just saying, like in Lizzie's backyard barbecue, I might go there instead of Woody's backyard
There you
barbecue.
go.
Who knows? It's a crazy thing. Okay, so one of the other things I want to talk about, you guys take Sunshine Flyer. Speaking of Magical Express, this is kind of one of the replacements. People are always curious about this. Tell us about that experience because people would like to know this, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we've tried Mears and we've tried Sunshine Flyer. Sunshine Flyer, they do a good job. But the one thing I've noticed is, with Magical Express, you get on the big old luxury bus and there's like
Yeah,
the comfy
a
seats and
motor
everything.
coach.
A little tight, but that's okay. Motor coach, thank you. So with both Mears and Sunshine Flyer, every time we get there, they've got a shuttle van, like a little shuttle bus. And the one on Mears, when we went the previous trip, they packed us in pretty good. There was a person sitting in every seat. We got into the Sunshine Flyer and there were probably I think there were around 10 seats and there were about 6 of us in there. So there was a little bit of space. So it was
Mm.
kind of nice. I will say I liked that better than the Mirrors. When they picked us up to go back to the airport at the end, then we were on the bus. We were
Yes,
on the
I'd much rather
larger.
be on the motor coach. It feels like
Yeah,
everybody has, like, their own, like, personal bubble with the 2
right.
seats. Like, I call those church vans, right? Because
It was
it's always like
church
thinking,
van.
like, youth group. Yeah, church camp, we had Satellite Park. We had a huge church when I was a kid. Like, we'd have you park it was a funeral home. They didn't use it on Sunday morning, so we park there, and they'd drive you in a van over to to our campus. And, yeah, I'd much rather be in a motor coach. Much more
Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah.
So that's probably the only drawback is, that we would like to be on the motor coach, but the price isn't bad. And the thing about having a cast member for a kid is she doesn't really know her schedule till about 10 days out.
Crazy.
So we have to plan these things. And then if she's able to join us or pick us up or take us, drop us off, whatever, we don't really know those things until about a week and a half out. So we kind of have to make whatever plans we have to make our plans knowing we might have to change them or cancel them or adjust them. So there's a lot of like vacationing on the fly now, being the parent of a cast member. But we've been there so much at this point that that's okay. So
Mhm. Which yeah,
it's
it's basically about seeing your kid and everything
it
else
is
is gravy. Yeah,
exactly.
total I get it. Okay, so I'll make sure we get all this in because again, I'm getting kind of bogged down because I love talking about this stuff. But so day 2, so you guys kind of get settled in, Sunshine Flyer,
Yeah.
meet up with your daughter, have the barbecue, great start. Then the next day, you guys getting in settled in over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. But I like this because I'm in that same part of our world too with our daughter, with Paige. She's up in
Mhm.
Chicago, director of basketball operations for a basketball team up there. So she's traveling here and there with this basketball team, like totally busy. Never hardly get to see her unless we traveled to Springfield a few weekends ago to see her team play. And So when you get time with your daughter, you gotta make it happen, right? And it looks like you guys decided you might not see her Christmas. So this was gonna have to
Right.
be your Christmas on the fly. So tell us about that. You even decorated your room. I love this
We
idea. You gotta take
did.
advantage.
Yeah, we started by sleeping in just a little bit because we were gonna have, the Christmas party that night. So had to, um, had to pace ourselves. So we slept in a little bit. We had Boma for breakfast. That
That's
was
so good.
amazing.
That is
We had
so
never
good.
we had never been to Boma, and the 3 of us went, and it was like, "Oh, this is just out of this world. How have we never been here before?" So good. And our server was fantastic also, so that was great. And then she had bought a, like, 3-foot tree at, I don't know, Michael's or something, and she brought over this tree to decorate our room with, and we did Christmas. We brought our presents, she had her presents, and we had a little family Christmas because we knew we weren't gonna see her then, and just kind of relaxed and spent time together for the day. And then we headed over to Magic Kingdom around 2 o'clock and just kind of took it easy. Um, our family is able to utilize the DAS Pass, the Disability Access Service. Is that what the S is for?
Service system.
Yeah, service system.
I don't know.
So we're able to utilize that. So we haven't to this point done Genie Plus. I know some people who have the DAS Pass also use Genie Plus, but I think because we've been there enough and we have, if we go, there's a few rides we'd really like to do, but if we don't get on something, it's not going to crush us. So we just take advantage of whatever we can do with the DAS Pass. So yeah, so we did our family Christmas and then we headed over for an evening of Christmas party.
So
So
so I know we're, past the holidays, but did the Christmas party live up to your expectations? Because again, it's a costly
it is.
add on to your vacation, but you just get to experience things during the Christmas party that you just can't do anywhere else. It's as close to walking through like a Christmas movie or a Christmas card or like a Hallmark movie as you're probably ever going to get.
Right. We've done it in the past and yes, we positively love it. Um, I will say I did not do my planning very well. We were enjoying some of those ride overlays so much that we didn't get to see the parade or the fireworks really because we kept missing things. Also, what I something that I didn't mention, whenever we could, we would add in my daughter's significant others. So at this point, by the evening, there were 4 of us. So we went around and did a ton of the rides though, because there were a few ride overlays that they hadn't done previously, or at least we hadn't experienced. Autopia, that
Mhm.
was really cool driving around there and they had so many Christmas lights up on that track to drive around. I mean, normally Autopia is not on our list as far as rides, smushing ourselves into those little cars.
I
That's
can
not.
tell. By the way, I can tell you're a Disneyland person with the Autopia. That's a Tomorrowland Speedway.
Oh,
For those on that.
okay.
No, I love it. That cracks me up. That's so great. No, that's so pure and perfect. I love it. No, it's the Tomorrowland Speedway.
Okay.
Right.
Tomorrowland Speedway had a fabulous overlay with
That's
lots of
great. No,
lights.
that's perfect.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, So that was really cool. And then I am a lot like you. I am like just over a year older than you. So I am right in there with you that putting myself on Space Mountain these days is not usually something that's high on my list.
Yeah.
But the overlay they did for
That
that, for the
hurt.
party, was insane. The Christmas music and there's Christmas lights. And
Mm.
it was like I forgot that I was on Space Mountain. It was so cool
Until it pulls back into the station.
until it goes back. Right. Very true.
Got to get out.
But and then
Okay.
you have to I know, and then I'm like, "Help me out of this car."
I'm
But
out.
it
I'm out.
but I think we did all of the rides that had some kind of overlay, and we threw in a couple extras. Um, we ended up calling it a night around 10:30 because our daughter, she just hadn't been feeling 100%. She was doing the best she could, but she just wasn't feeling 100%. I'm like, "It is more important for her to get some sleep than for me to push my family to see the parade late at night."
Thank you.
So,
On behalf of every Thank you. Hang on, I hit the wrong
yeah.
button. But thank you. I'm trying to give you the bell, but yeah, that's perfect. That's great because if somebody doesn't feel well, you're not getting like, oh, I got to get another hour's worth of my party. No, go back and rest,
Yeah.
please. That's what you got
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. So that's what we did. So that was good. Yeah.
There's your bell. Okay,
There we go.
there you go.
Oh,
Perfect. So, okay, so I'll make sure we get through this. So, long story short, everybody goes back. Next day, you guys sleep in a little bit. Little Chick-fil-A for breakfast, by the way. There's a Chick-fil-A
Yep.
right outside the
Yeah.
animal kingdom, kind of by
That's
Animal Kingdom
yep.
Lodge.
I think
About
that's one we
across
went
from
to.
away.
Yep.
Yep. Just so you know, not that I know that, but I do. And your daughter gets a telehealth doctor appointment, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool, and had a little sinus infection, got some medicine. Looks like it cleared up pretty quick. That's
It
good
did.
news. Kind of saved
Yeah.
everything. But then you guys went to Cast Connection. Now, I got to go there with a friend who's a cast member years ago. It was awesome. And I
It
hate
is pretty
shopping,
cool.
but I mean, like, if I'm gonna go shopping, that was a cool place to go because there was just random stuff and it was
Yes.
cheap. I loved it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just tell us what you can about your experience there. What was that like?
So yeah, it's basically a lot of it is the type of stuff you find at like the Disney outlet, but it's its own location. You have to be a cast member and show your ID to get in, and you can take, I think it's up to 3 guests. So she took the two of us. Um, and it's a whole bunch of stuff that's marked way down, and you can find a lot of treasures in there. So sometimes there are things where you're looking at it going, why is this here? I would have paid full price for this.
I
But now
know.
that it's
People like us,
75% off, I'll take it.
people like us, it's crazy. Like it's
Yeah.
you should not allow nuts like us listening to Disney podcasts in that place. Cause like just take my credit card.
And and I will tell you, there was some really cool Run Disney wear in there, but not being a Run Disney person, I didn't feel I could legitimately wear those clothes.
Nah,
But it
I
was really cool to
appreciate
see
your
it.
honesty because
Yes.
other people don't have the same scruples you have.
So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's basically just this big like warehouse type place. They do have a back room that we are not allowed to go into. Only cast members can go in there. That's like the
Ooh.
really good stuff, marked way down. And when they go in there, I think it's only like 2 things per day that she's allowed to buy. So they're like really limited because it's the really good stuff.
Yeah. I wanna go in there so bad. If you can't, if one of the cast members go, I just wanna go in and look.
Yeah,
I'm like, "I promise I'm not gonna buy anything, but I just gotta know what's in the room." You know?
right.
I just gotta know what the deal is, you know?
Yeah,
I love that though. I mean, there should be stuff that's exclusive for cast members. I mean, I don't think they get enough perks as it is, so
right.
more power to them. That's cool. I'm glad you got to have that experience. Now let me ask you about later on, you went to Disney Springs and you guys went to the Edison. So I gotta
Yeah,
ask you about this because this is a place I've never been. And I'll be honest, and we kind of talked about this before we recorded. It's got a different vibe, we think, like earlier in the day than at night.
right.
At night, I think this is not my kind of place. I'm more of a Cracker Barrel, Denny's kind of guy, Taco Bell kind of guy. I'm just an old like Midwestern guy. I mean, it looks a little bit too cosmopolitan for me, possibly. But you said
Yeah,
during the early evening, it was fine. I mean, what do
right.
you think?
Yeah, well, the 4 of us were able to go, and, I can't remember if they had been before. I kinda think they hadn't, because they were looking around and, they're both in their early 20s, and they're looking around going, "Yeah, we should come back here at night." And because this place is supposed to be really cool.
I've heard.
But, the food was good. The service was okay, but it was almost one of those things where because we were there, like, at 4:30, I almost wonder if it's one of those where if there aren't a lot of people, the service is almost
Mhm.
lacking a little bit. If there's not
Right.
as many customers, sometimes that happens. And it could have just been the day, but the food was good. I don't know that I would rush back there unless I was somebody that wanted to go to the show in the evening. I think that's really the probably the best thing about that place is people that want to go to that show in the evening.
Good tip. I just I'd rather go to homecoming. Just
Yeah, see, and you know what? Actually, something that I should be saying, that I don't think I put in my notes is my daughter and I both have to eat gluten free.
okay.
So, like any place that I'm talking about food wise, she and I had the gluten free options everywhere. So, homecoming, well, I think it would be wonderful. I don't know if there's anything there we can eat.
I don't know because I don't eat that way,
I
so I don't know
know.
what is what
I
isn't. Yeah,
know.
probably not. I mean,
I
I'm
don't
sure
think
that
so.
stuff
It's
is
fried
terrible
and
for
biscuits
every
and
kind of person. Yeah, fried chicken biscuits and deviled
yeah,
eggs. I don't know.
yeah,
I've I don't know. I just know it's not good for anybody.
right?
That's why it's so stinking good. But
Yeah.
you can't eat it very much. Yeah, let's don't talk about that because I really want that when I go down this week. I don't want to think about how bad it is. Because running 22 miles or 19 miles, however far, I don't even know how many miles I'm running, but it's not enough for what I want to eat. Okay, so You guys finished up that night doing a little shopping around Disney Springs, but I want to get to the next day because you guys rope dropped Hollywood Studios, so we can kind of get
Yeah.
into the theme parks here. But you did capture your moment. But if people don't know, tell us about that experience. How'd you book it, and how did you meet up with the photographer, and how did this kind of unfold for you?
Yeah, we've gone to doing this just about every trip because it's really a great way to get a photo session as a family at some pretty unique spots around Disney. So, what I do is I just go to the Disney website and the little search box, I just type capture your moment and it brings up all the locations. And I want to say they're doing it in all the parks now. I'm
I
almost
think so.
positive they are. Yeah.
I think so.
Um, so we did studios because we hadn't done one at studios before. And actually, this is one of those things where because not knowing her schedule and having to book this 60 days out to make sure I got it, I booked two sessions at like different parks on different days. Because not only do we not know her schedule, but cast members sometimes get blocked out of parks.
Mhm.
And so um, right around Thanksgiving, right around Christmas. We never know if like she's going to get blocked out of Magic Kingdom or studios. You know, sometimes you can't get into those. So we were able to do this one at studios. It tells you when you sign up for it, there's actually information there telling you where the location is that you can meet up with your photographer. For the studios one, I'm gonna forget the name of it, but right when you go inside, there's like that little building off to your left. It's like the little photo
Is it the old
something.
Sid Cahuenga's building right there? The old, Curios? That's the,
Yes,
used to be My Disney Experience kind of
yes,
building type thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
the curios, yeah.
I meant
So
that it
you
used
go
to
in
be Sid
there.
Cahuenga's little collectibles, unique things, but I guess now it's a meeting place, so it's sad.
Now it's yeah. Um, so we went in there and that's where we checked in and met up with you get a photographer and a photographer's assistant. And the assistant is like they've got little boards that they can put the different words on or like, write out happy anniversary, happy birthday, whatever, if you're celebrating something. Um, so we wanted to do ours like Christmas themed, so like family Christmas pictures. So they wrote on the board Merry Christmas. So then they usually give you a couple of options, places that they can get to easily. So not the back of the park, but places that within your time frame because you get 20 minutes with them. So it's wherever they can quickly get with you and take a good number of pictures. We were at studios, and Galaxy's Edge is one of the locations you are not allowed to go.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that
know.
would take forever to
That's
get there. You'd be almost 20 minutes by the time you got there anyway.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is part of it. It's way
Right,
back
that's the
there, but
line. Yeah, exactly. 15 minutes by then, yeah.
yeah, but that's one of the rules where nope, can't go there. So we did Echo Lake, and we got good pictures with Gertie all dressed up for Christmas and the Christmas tree right there, and got some kind of off the beaten path over by the Indiana Jones because the show wasn't open yet. Because we took that's the other thing is we took the first thing in the morning. That's something I would definitely say if people are going to book this, take
Mhm.
that first slot or two in the morning because the park is going to be less crowded and you're not going to be dead tired and look all worn
Look
out.
fresh. Yeah, well, and you know what? Now think about this, during the holidays, the studios is gorgeous. I
Yeah,
mean, that is I would say it's prettier than the Magic Kingdom, honestly. I love the aesthetic of the decorations at the studios,
right.
and especially Echo Lake, that's where they are. All those
Yes.
decorations out on the water and those spaghetti poodles, I think they're called, and all that
Yeah.
stuff there kind of outside of, Hollywood and Vine. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, that's why we chose it is because we knew that it was really well decorated, and so we were going to get some pretty good shots over there. So yeah, you get about 20 minutes now. We have the memory maker. So added that on to my annual pass so we get all those pictures. So these pictures automatically show up on there. So
Good
you pay
deal.
for the session, but you automatically get your pictures. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay for your pictures or pay for Memory Maker separately. But if it's one of those things you think you're going to want to do, just pay for Memory Maker, get all the
Right.
pictures on your whole trip, and do this capture your moment. Because honestly, I think it's up. I want to say it's like 75 now. We did one when it was really low. It was like
I know. It used to
$49.
be so cheap.
But if you price out a photographer like around town to take you to a pretty park
Oh,
and take pictures of
100%.
your family, they want like $300.
I know.
So, and you still only get like a half an hour's time, and then you got to pay for the pictures.
Yeah, Ricky's parents own a photography studio. So,
I
yeah,
forgot.
I know. They shot our wedding reception. We got a little discount, but no, they're awesome. They're professional photographers. It's great. Okay, so I'll make sure we get all this in. So you
Yeah.
guys after that did a bunch of rides, had 50s for lunch. I love 50s. So good. So how were the crowds though this time of the year, real quick, just in general in
Um,
all the theme parks? Were they building up as you got closer to the end of the trip because of Thanksgiving coming
yes.
on, or how was the
That's
crowd and weather?
That's exactly it. We went the week before Thanksgiving. We went on Wednesday and we actually flew home on Thanksgiving Day. So that first half of the trip wasn't as bad. The second half was getting pretty busy. But I think the fact that, like I said, we've been there enough that we don't feel like we have to do everything really is a benefit now if we go during the holidays, because I want to see the decorations and I want to just spend time together and have some good food. And I don't, if I get on a couple rides, that's awesome, but I don't have to be standing in, huge long lines and be when we start to feel like we're pushing through the crowds of people, we can just call it a day.
Right, or go back to the resort. You're
Yes,
staying at 2 awesome resorts.
right.
Take
Exactly.
advantage of the amenities there. Okay, so, after this, though, that day, you did a bunch of the attractions. Then you went to Hoop-Dee-Doo, which
Yeah.
again, Hoop-Dee-Doo hadn't been reopened very long after this time, and I've been to Hoop-Dee-Doo a few times. I love this, and I used to love Spirit of Aloha over at Polynesian, RIP. Big tower, big construction site right now. Won't be doing that one again, but at least not in its form that it was, or at least in the same location. So you said you had a pro and con because you had a good table right up front. Well, let's say you had a table right up
It,
front. I don't know if it was good or
yeah.
not. So tell us about the whole experience and what do you mean by that?
So it was able to be the four of us on this, and none of us had ever done hoop de doo. So, we were going at Thanksgiving, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to get into Magic Kingdom. And so it was like I didn't know if I could do, Liberty Tree. So okay, let's do this. Good food, good show. It'll be fun. And it was. It was a lot of fun. Our table was right up front, which is really cool. But you've been there, so
Mhm.
but I will explain to everybody else that our table, it's kind of sideways. So we were right next to the musicians. Like we were talking to them when it was downtime on the show, and they were amazing. One of them had been a cast member, the banjo player had been a cast member for, I want to say, 40 years.
That's crazy.
It was amazing. So they were really fun, and the kids were having a great time talking to them because they're both cast members, so they were having a great time. But the thing about the tables is the way they're positioned. My daughter and I had a really great view because we were looking at the stage. The other two were looking; their backs were to the stage,
Right.
and the show goes on while you're eating. So it's like you need to keep eating, and you can't, the chairs are
Because
swivel, but you can't really turn around and
you're
watch the
trying to eat.
show and eat. And so that was probably the only real downside. Is there are a lot of tables in there where people are sitting to the back of this, their backs are to the stage. And so I think that's really the only downside. Otherwise, it was a heck of a lot of fun. The food was good. The gluten-free food was amazing. I have to tell you something funny about that in a second. But the only downside I think was probably the fact that the two of them had their backs to the stage.
That's a good point. While you're there, that food is so good. You gotta keep eating. You just gotta
So
keep eating.
so okay. So anybody that eats gluten free or has any kind of an allergy knows when you find something good, you're like, okay, bring me more. So they'll bring you more there. If you want something, they'll bring you more of it. So my daughter and I downed the loaf of cornbread that they brought us and said, could we please have some more? And then we just got busy eating the other things. We didn't have the cornbread. Well, I look at her and she's taking the cornbread and she's putting it in her purse.
Oh, that's you sure you weren't vacation with Ricky?
Uh-huh,
Because
I
Ricky
did.
did that.
So yeah, I had to message Ricky and say my child is doing purse snacks. So
That's
I told my daughter about Ricky, and we're sitting there laughing hysterically. And then we got up to leave later, and she told me she also had two ribs in her purse.
Okay, that is a Ricky Boo for sure.
Right?
'Cause Ricky put stuff in there that is inappropriate for a purse.
That's what I thought. It was hilarious. We were laughing so hard we were crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ricky's gonna love this. So
Yeah, we and the Be Our Guest podcast does not condone taking ribs from Hoop-Dee-Doo.
oh, one thing I will say also, I wanted to thank Scotty because we did exactly what he suggested with our annual passes. You can't, when you buy your ticket for Hoop-Dee-Doo, you can't put in annual pass to get a discount, but you go up to the window and you ask them. And as soon as like you get your little ticket thing for signing in or checking in, you take it back to them and they will refund you the discount.
Boom.
So
Good
yeah,
tip.
yep.
Awesome. Okay, so we gotta get so much in. We have like
Yeah, I
10 minutes
know.
left, so I still haven't even switched. So the next day, you guys spent some time over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. It looks like it rained a little bit. So anything that you want to highlight from that day? Because I want to make sure we get to the Polynesian and some of the towards the back end of the trip here. So anything from that day you want to hit?
Yeah, well, it was my husband and I were solo that day. We went to Animal Kingdom Park and we did the shows and we did the safari. It was raining, not hard, but it was raining and we did the safari anyway. That's like my favorite ride in the entire all of Walt Disney World.
I
I
do
just
love this
love seeing
there.
those animals. And seeing them out in the rain was really cool because a lot of them come out in the rain. Some of them try to hide from it, so it's fun to see where they will hide. All the giraffes were like around this one corner, like in this little bunch. It was just pretty fun to see them over there. So it's unique and different if you can do it in the rain because you're going to see a lot of animals and you're just going to see different behavior than
Mm.
you would if it's sunny and warm out.
Seems more
Um,
natural too, and it's
yeah,
exotic.
yeah,
You're not in the rain. You're in the Jeep.
right. Yeah, we were fine.
You're staying dry for the most part.
Yeah, and we did the Nemo show because it had just come back, and I love that one. And we did Lion King because we had seen it post COVID, but it didn't have the Tumble Monkeys back, and
Right.
it wasn't the full show. So that was fun to see. So we did those things, and then we kind of called it a day and went back. And we were going to do quick service that night for dinner, and my husband said, "Can you see if you can get Boma? Be nice to sit down." So that 2-hour cancellation window really came in handy, and we booked Boma. Well, then our daughter's plans ended up canceling for that evening because she had to work and then she was going to do something. And she's like, "Can I come have dinner with you?" So, of course. So I get on there and I was able to change it to a party of three like 15 minutes after our time. So I I was a little worried about them changing it to that 2-hour cancellation, but we had a couple times this trip where it really came in handy.
Right. I'm hearing very positive guest feedback from that, and personally, I think it's great too. I mean,
Yeah,
because especially with families, I mean, especially if you, because I don't have younger kids anymore, but I mean, God, when you have like a 3-year-old, God help us if you cancel if your kid's cranky. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't go because you 24 hours ago you couldn't cancel anymore, and your kid's
right.
sick. Got an earache.
Yeah,
They're gonna ride it out, in the middle of 50s for everybody to enjoy.
yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah, no, so with Boma again, oh my gosh, you're killing me. The chowder there at dinner is so good. Um, okay, so day 6 now, you guys switch resorts. So tell us quickly about your experience with, because this is always a question, like, if I do a split, what's it like that day when I have to go from resort A to resort B? How was that? And then how was the Polynesian? Give us a quick review of that.
Yeah, well, we were able to put our luggage in our daughter's car and
Yeah,
hang out with her, and she
that
took it
helped.
over. We have done the transfer before, and honestly, it's great, except when we have to transfer between the Poly and the Grand for some reason. It's like at this point, if we ever transfer between those two, I'm just walking it over. But we were able to put our stuff in her car, which was really helpful. The Poly is just so beautiful, and it's funny that you guys were talking on a week or so ago about just kind of seeing what happens as far as room requests
Yeah,
go, because I'll always put in my room request and I put in a room request for one of the buildings, DVC buildings that's kind of centrally located. That's not where they put us. They put us in the Pago Pago, which we had never been in before, but it turned out fabulous because I had never really noticed there's a small parking lot there.
nice.
So when she was coming over to visit us, pick us up, drop us off, whatever, we were right there at our building. And it's really close to the TTC, and it was really close to the buses. A little bit of a walk over to the main building, but not bad at all. So it actually, even though I didn't get my request, it turned out great. We had a really great room.
I'm doing the same with Coronado this week. I'm just not putting a request on it. I just have a standard view,
Mhm.
non-tower. It's got a steal of a deal on it. I'm going solo, so I'm not trying to spend a lot of money. And up ranchos, casitas, cabanas. We'll see what happens. It could be my
Yeah.
new favorite room. Maybe I don't like it, but I'm only there for 3 or 4 nights, so we'll
Mm,
see what happens.
there you
Yeah,
go.
I like it. Just leave it to the wind because you never know. It could be your favorite thing. You just don't know
That's
if you have
yeah,
the experience. So I'll
exactly.
find out. So you guys switch, and then you guys head over to Epcot. I'm curious about this though, because you put this in bold that your husband and your daughter have a tradition of taking pictures at the Mission Space sign. I
I
I like it.
sometimes I
There's got to be a story, right? Or maybe or no.
well, yes, we have from every trip we've been on except one, we have pictures of the 2 of them in front of that mission space sign. So from starting when she was 5 years old, we have pictures, and it was just kinda like one of those traditions that just happened. It was my husband loves space. He would have loved to do that experience that you did at NASA. I mean, it's, that type of stuff he just absolutely adores. And so we've got this picture of them. And we just continue every trip. It's like, oh, gotta go take the picture, gotta go take the picture. One year, the lighting was really bad. I forget if it was overcast or I think it might have even been nighttime. We said, no, we'll get it the next day. Of course, that never happened. So that's the one trip we don't have. But we were able to get their picture. And, sometimes you don't have to have like, it doesn't have to be the perfect spot. It's just wherever you end up taking those pictures and you just love it and it just becomes tradition to take a picture there every time.
I agree. I mean, if you look back, it's weird because we do have kind of the strange places, in front of Soarin', like the
Yeah,
Soarin' sign, the wait time signs and places. Just we always did that, and it's
right.
I like the stories though. So also, you guys did here. I'm hearing this a lot from guests now that Space 220 has been out for a couple years. You guys did lunch there, and you said it was okay, but you've had the experience and you're kind of good for a little
Yeah.
while. I think a lot of people are getting that where it's a very cool experience. Like you said, your husband likes space. I'm a space nut. Obviously, I worked at space
Mhm.
camp, love it, taught it. That's what I taught. But it's not to me, it's not a place that you would like have to do every trip. Like I might
Right.
do it again if I brought somebody that's never been, or I'll probably get the inkling to do it again maybe in 3 to 4 to 5 years. But it's an expensive proposition, and
Right.
I
And
there's
that
so many other places to try too.
yeah, we did it about a year ago. I think it was Christmas last not so 21. Um, we did it for dinner and it was a lot of fun and it was the first time we'd been there and my husband doesn't make a ton of requests, but he said, "I want Space 220." So I was able to grab it and we did Space 220 for dinner and it was fun. So in planning this trip, he said, "I want to do it again, but let's do lunch this time." Okay, great. So we get a lunch reservation and the 3 of us were able to go and it was fun, but at the end he's like, for the price, we can do something different next
Mhm.
time. I think it's going to be one of those where, like you said, it's every 3 to 5 years. It doesn't have to be the must do every trip anymore. There's so many good places to eat there that we can kind of spread ourselves around.
I think anybody that's interested in space needs to absolutely do it once.
Oh,
Like you need to have that first
absolutely.
I was blown away the first time. It's just I
Yes.
just don't think it has the repeatability like other places. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about that night you guys went to Ohana because you guys were
Yeah.
obviously staying at the Poly, so it's right there at your resort. And I believe it's your first time having dinner there. So you're gonna tell me a little bit about this. So how'd that go?
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been there for breakfast multiple times. Never had been there for dinner. So we made the dinner reservation. The 4 of us were able to go, and I made it time-wise, thinking to myself, "We'll be able to see the fireworks, like, right after dinner. Wouldn't that be fabulous?" So, of course, they sit us at a table that is the positively furthest from the window, and we're like, "Okay, well, let's see how this goes." And the meal was good. I will say one thing that we noticed was we were like 3 bites into one of the courses and they bring another one.
Yeah,
And
it's
so it was like they were moving us through there so fast. But it turned out to be really good that they moved us through fast because we finished our meal, we walked outside, we parked it on the grass, and we watched fireworks from out there.
good
So
view.
it was the perfect view. We actually had the dinner and we were able to go out there and see it. Um, my daughter was and I weren't able to eat the noodles. They're not gluten free, so we were kind of sad over that. The other two probably could have lived off the noodles, but it was a good meal overall. It was really good food.
That's
I
good to
could
hear.
s- I could see how people overeat there, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a couple places that I go to at Walt Disney World where I just can't stop, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
I leave and I'm actually in pain. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, because it's so expensive, right? I mean, it's like I feel
Get your
I'm
money
just
worth.
super frugal, right? I'm like, okay, I got to eat $60 worth of food. It's impossible to eat $60 worth of food. That's like a week's. That's like 2 weeks worth of a single person's groceries. You
Right.
cannot eat that in 30 minutes, but I try because I've been there right after the Sunday we ran the marathon. We went there as a group on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I didn't even work that time. So, okay, another place you went though, I'm gonna talk about Steakhouse 71. It says
Yes.
super yummy. Sounds like a good experience there. Everybody raves about this place. Still kind of a sleeper hit over at the Contemporary.
Yeah, we had never been there before. That was another one that was new to us and definitely gonna go back there in the future. I'll talk just in a minute about probably why we shouldn't have had dinner there that night. We ended up eating way too much, but it was really good food, and it was one of those where I almost felt like maybe I wasn't dressed up enough. It was kind of like almost like a California grill type feel that there were
Really?
some
I
well,
think it kind of feels kind of casual over there, but maybe
well,
it's
that's
just
the thing is it was really a mix of like the casual and then the people that looked like they were there for special occasion.
true. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those Disney experiences where you're totally okay wearing casual clothes and being
Mhm.
casual, but you feel like you're at a really fancy restaurant,
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
you
that's
know?
exactly right. Yeah, you're right because the Contemporary can kind of feel upscale. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I totally get what you're saying.
it was delicious though, and the service was fantastic, and it was a really good meal. We definitely that would be one to put on our list again. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, yeah, I love that place. They had a really good breakfast, by the way, too, there.
Oh,
I had
yummy.
that last trip. Okay, so you spent some time also at Bay Lake Tower. You guys did Top of the World Lounge, for an event up there. How
Yeah.
was that? Because I got to spend some time at Top of the World Lounge last week or a couple weeks ago now when I was
Oh,
down there.
nice.
It I'm not DVC, but it's good to have friends that are, I'll tell you.
Right? Yeah. Well, so we had been wanting to go there for the longest time, and then it closed with COVID, and then when they reopened it, they renamed it the Villains Lair, and it's
Mhm.
got a villains theme to it, which is really cute. So if you are DVC and staying um, on DVC points, you can walk up, and if there's space, they will let you up there. And there's a space where you can go out on the balcony and you can watch the fireworks. It's like a first come, first serve. They're also doing events, and there's different things on different nights, and there's a fee attached to it. But comparatively to like a dessert party, in my opinion, it was stellar because we had our own table for four up there. She told us, go outside, go wherever you want to go. This is your table for the night. And when I say for the night, like 3 hours, they were giving us that space. And it included one beverage, either alcoholic or non alcoholic. It included an appetizer and a dessert. And after we'd been there for about 2 hours, the fireworks were going off at Magic Kingdom. And they have that balcony in two separate sections. So the first come, first serve probably had a good 60 people on it. The spot where everybody had done this what was it? Wicked Wind Down event had maybe 12. And that included the four of us.
Nice.
And it was just so peaceful and relaxing. And they do like California Grill, they pipe in the music. So you're
Mhm.
listening to the music and you're watching the fireworks. And it was so relaxing. And it was just so nice. I mean, to be there because our main focus was to visit our girl, to be able to sit there and visit and just have that reserved time and be able to go out and watch those fireworks, it was money well spent.
Yeah, it's nice to splurge on yourself, right? I
Yes.
mean, you're there, do something fancy, do something nice, treat yourself. And it's such an amazing view. I mean, like we got to do it when we were down for that event a couple weeks back. We did it from California Grill,
Yeah.
but it's very similar.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's stunning from up there. It's
Yes.
amazing. And I hope somebody had did they serve the big cake did somebody get the 28 layer cake or whatever they have up there?
No,
Oh,
they
it's
well,
so
only 2 out of the 4 of us would have been able to eat that,
good.
and the thing is, we went to Steakhouse 71 beforehand.
True, yeah, that's true, yeah, that's true,
Oh,
but
it was so
they have
dumb on
that
our
at
part.
Steakhouse 71 too, though, they have the huge cake, so I'm just saying you went
Yeah,
to 2 very good cake locations, and
yeah,
you can't have it, but I mean, I can, so I think about those things often.
we're planning ahead for next time. We wanna do the Wicked Wine Down again, but we're gonna do some, like, light quick service, like 4 to 5 hours beforehand and then
Oh,
go.
you say that now. Okay.
I know.
Best laid plans. And exactly. I say that right now. It's Monday. I'm going down Thursday. I'll blow everything by Friday. Just saying. So I'm not even saying anything. What are my plans? I'm not telling you because I will not stick to them because I'll be with Scott. I'll be like, Scott, let's go to Columbia Harbor House. He'll be like, okay, let's go to Liberty Tree Tavern. I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
we can't do Thanksgiving right now. We're running a race tomorrow. No, let's go. So there we go. So that's how we roll. Okay, so the next day though, you're winding towards the end of your trip.
Yeah,
Your daughter had to initially go to work, and
she
so
did.
your husband and I just kind of went over to the Magic Kingdom. You're right
Yeah,
there and
yeah.
spent some time, but then it looks like your daughter got early release, so got to
She
join you.
did. So that was really a nice surprise. So yeah, we went over to Boardwalk Deli. We had been there as the bakery, but never as the deli, and we got ourselves some sandwiches. Really good Reuben sandwich on some gluten-free bread that was amazing. Took them out, sitting on the water, and she calls and says, "I got an early release. There are more than enough people working today." She asked if she could go home early, and they said, "Yeah." So she was able to join up with us in the evening, and we ended up going she met us back at the Poly, and we got a last minute reservation again for Grand Floridian Cafe. And I have to tell you, I was listening today to you and Pam and Ricky talk about those burgers.
The lobster
So the
thermidor.
lobster thermidor. So, okay, we'd never been to Grand Floridian Cafe before, but I always wanted to try it. So it was fabulous. Definitely on our like must-do list in the future. Service was amazing. Um, I just had the best cast member who just stood there and talked us through the menu and just chatted with us and just so nice. And the food. So having to eat gluten free, we looked at him and we said, "Okay, if we can get a gluten free bun, we want to do the lobster thermidor burger." And he looks at us and his eyes just drop. Like, no, he said, "The sauce, that lobster thermidor sauce is not gluten free." And he said, "It makes more sense for you to order the regular burger than to get the lobster thermidor and say, 'Hold the sauce,' because you're paying for it."
Yeah.
So we ended up getting, right? I know. It's like it's several dollars more to get it. He's like, "Yeah, it
I
doesn't make
love
any sense."
somebody like that though. He's looking out for
Yeah.
you.
Oh, he was totally looking out for us the whole time. It was great. He was so fabulous. Um, my daughter actually did, we can do shout outs for cast members.
Mhm,
She
absolutely.
can do compliments. Cast members can do it for other cast members as well.
Oh,
They
nice.
have like a special thing that they sign into. So we're sitting there eating dinner and she's on her phone putting in a cast member to cast
Great.
member compliment for him. It was great. Um, so we ended up getting the regular burger there with gluten-free bun. It was fabulous. I would definitely go back there and get again.
I do love Grand Floridian Cafe.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't want to talk about it too much because
I
you can
know.
almost always get an ADR there, and it is
Yeah.
such a good. And I used to think because of just its name, the Grand Floridian Cafe, that it was like super fancy. In my mind, it was like a Victorian Alberts kind of thing. Like you'd have a
Oh,
suit
yeah.
on to go there. It's not like that.
No.
It's a table service restaurant, but it's rather casual. I mean, it's nice looking and everything on the
Yeah.
inside, but the food is super good. I mean, you can go there. They have a brunch on the weekends, and they have the
Mhm.
burgers. They have great chicken,
Yeah.
buttermilk, kind of like a buttermilk chicken, like they have over at Okiwa. I mean, it's just
Right.
solid food. It's not super
Yeah.
fancy. It's great. Oh,
Oh, yeah. We'll be
I'm
back.
absolutely me too. Okay, so we're running way long, but I couldn't stop
Sorry.
talking because no, I love this. I mean, this is such a great trip, and when I get somebody on here and I get to talk Disney, this is what we do. This is why we started the show. And I love this stuff, but as we're kind of wrapping here, such a fun trip because you got to see your daughter for Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, this was your Christmas time, came all the way across the country. I get it because I'm at that same point in my life with
Yep.
Paige. It's like you take it when you can get it. What was the overall? You got back to Idaho. What was, we're a few months out from the trip now. What do you remember? Like, what's the big memory from this trip? Did you learn something that you want to share with people, or do you just want to leave us like with
Yeah.
one, thought from this trip? What are you going to
Oh,
recall?
words of wisdom. I don't know.
I know.
I guess, and it's a little bit harder for people who this is like their first trip or they can't go very often, but even if that's the case, just slow down and take those moments in because yes, it's amazing. You're at Disney World, but whether you're there to visit a family member or you're taking your family with you, the memories you're making with them are so much more important than how many rides you get on. And it's just so much more important. So spend that time and just enjoy being with your family or your friends or whoever you're going with, because that's really the stuff to cherish.
And don't forget to get the picture in front of the mission space sign when you're
Right.
at Epcot.
Yeah, or
Head
find
up.
your own spot. Find your own fabulous spot.
That's a good point. That should be
Yeah.
the 2024 promotion for Disney. Find your
Find
spot
your
in the
spot.
park. Get your picture. Buy a memory
Yeah.
maker. No, I
Yep.
love it. So Stephanie, this is what a great way to start the week. This is awesome because we got to take an hour to virtually go all over the resort, have some. And again, I apologize for anybody that was on treadmill or doing the workout this morning because we've talked some good food, but hey, that's why we work out so we can go to these places. But so much fun hearing about your family, hearing about your story, and about this awesome trip. So thanks for taking the time and have a great week out in Idaho.
Thanks. You too, Mike.
All right. Don't forget, our show is always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney trip. We're standing by right now this week over at themagicforless.com. So just swing by the website, fill out that free, no obligation quote form, and we'll take care of you right then, get you the best price possible on that Disney vacation, and give you our expert services for no cost to you. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click really helps us out. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the Be Our Guest podcast. You make all these shows possible. Couldn't do it without you. And our patrons get that bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. I think we talked about Balloon Launch Day at North County Christian School this past week, which was a weird day, but back in the 80s, it made sense. Really, I don't think it makes sense today, but that's kind of what that show's about. It's just about growing up here in St. Louis as a kid when I was younger. So if you want to get on that, we'd love to have you. It really just goes to support everything we do here on the big show on the podcast. Coming over patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. Give me a follow this week on Instagram and Twitter because I'm going to be going live from Walt Disney World at Be Our Guest Mike. No live show this Sunday night because I will still be I'll be getting home right about then from Walt Disney World Sunday night. So we're going to not have a show this Sunday night, but we'll be back in the normal schedule after that, all the Sundays after that. So we'll be good till Easter. We'll probably even have a show on Easter. We'll see. But we're going to be here for you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's what we do. So join us for those. And until we get back together again on Wednesday for more of your listener questions, for Stephanie out in Idaho, I'm Mike here in Missouri. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. So I have the TV on mute here in the office, and I have it on Fox because I had our local news on.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to see the weather for tomorrow, like when they just flash up on the screen. And I guess this Masked Singer show's on. So I look up there and there's like I don't know, like a troll or something like dancing around. I'm like, oh my God.
That's not the weather.
I was like, what is that? Like, what happened? I was like, oh my gosh, it's not new. It was like a big troll dancing around with that Ken Young guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't watch this show.
I don't watch that show either.
The guy that was like a meme. Okay, this is why I only watch sports. Anyway, hey, Stephanie, great show. And thank you
awesome.
so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on and for supporting everything we do. It means a ton to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Take
You
care.
too.